YouTube Poop is a form of online video mashup that involves taking various sources of media and editing it together to create something humorous, shocking, random, or intricate. These types of videos have existed for a very long time, but very few know of its origins and history. The community has faced various trials and tribulations, and I feel it's important to document them in greater detail than what we have now. If you were to ask anybody from the YTP community what the first YouTube poop ever made was, they will usually point to I'd Say He's Hot in Our Tail, which was posted on Cheesy Art back on December 22nd, 2004 by Super Yoshi, otherwise known as Matt Mulligan. But to properly understand YTP's origins, we need to go further back. Back in the year 2000, September 14th, Microsoft would release the first fully developed version of Windows Movie Maker on Windows ME. 1 month later, it would get ported to Windows XP, and it would be the first time video editing software became common and affordable to the general public. About 1 year later, on July 6, 2001, Max Goldberg would launch the first iteration of the site known as YTP. At first, it was a very basic site with three-dimensional ACI text on a black background reading, "You're the man now, dog." Approximately 3 years later, the website would get rebranded and allow its users to create their own sites on the platform, which usually contain a style of humor that will seem familiar to any regular internet user even today, as the website in its heyday is responsible for kickstarting various memes and trends that became popular beyond the website and would influence not only the sense of humor of the internet as a whole, but many of the first YTP content creators.
Luke, I am your father. Do the barrel roll.
If you paid close attention to the last site I played, you'll notice that it actually incorporates sentence mixing. But this site itself was made on November 11, 2004, a few weeks before Super Yoshi would upload their video. If you dig enough, you can find other YTPs that incorporate techniques similar to what YTPers in editing would call poopisms, which for the few causes discrepancy on whether or not Super Yoshi should be attributed with the title of the first YTP. Other content that causes dispute are a few videos online that are edits done in Windows Movie Maker, which are alleged to be older than Matt's YTP, some predating it by a few years. If you want to be really technical, you can go further back by a few decades, as far back as video editing existed, to find content which many came to label as proto-YTPs. But I'm not here to debate the chicken or the egg question. In all honesty, it's not that important to know for the sake of this video, so for now we'll stick with math. What I think should be important to know was that when Matt made his video, he was only 15 years old at the time. He shared his video among friends who loved it and proceeded to create their own content for no other reason besides teenagers being teenagers and doing dumb stuff to make each other laugh. There would even be a first YTP collab among Super Yoshi and Retrospective called Dr. Light's Guidance System. It is unclear which person did what joke, as the video contains no watermarks. Another significant thing that Retrospective is credited for is being responsible for the creation of the first Super Dinner joke, that being of Luigi saying "Mama Luigi," which would heavily take off later on, and Retrospective would regret it ever since. The interesting thing is, with all of this happening, YouTube posts were still not referred to as such, except maybe by Yamin Alex. Whenever Yamin Alex would call or text his friends, he would refer to his videos as a piece of poop. And once these people started uploading their videos onto YouTube, the term YouTube poop would be thrown around as well. However, Yamin Alex would not be the first person to title his video as YouTube poop. That would be his friend at the time, Duke of Fortune, as when he started making his own videos, he would be the one to call them as such. So it can be argued that the coinage of the term, just like YTPs themselves, can't be truly attributed to one specific individual, but rather to the collective. Speaking of Duke, he's also attributed as the first person to use Zelda CDI as a source for his edits, but unfortunately a lot of videos from that era are long gone, so it can't be fully proven or denied. The first YTP MVer is attributed to be Mr. Simon, would take clips from various TV shows and make them play to the rhythm of a drum sample or instrumental. Not only that, but he would be the person that created the iconic YTP intros, which many people would incorporate into their own content, to the point that many deemed it heavily overused. It's also worth mentioning that as this was happening, the Japanese internet would have its own form of comedic music videos explode in popularity, known as automads. Now, that genre of video can be traced back all the way back to 1980s Japanese educational institutions, like the Osaka University of Arts and Music, where students would share videotapes among each other, which contained re-edited, mashed-up footage of various news clips, live shows, and anime. Nowadays, automads are known to be mostly anime-related, or being part of a specific subgenre of automads known as gachimuchi. Automads would quickly make their appearance on YouTube alongside YTPs, which would have an impact into how YTPMBs would develop. Not just in the form of transmission of fans like Run Run Ronald McDonald, but what music would be used, as to this day, many YTPMBs use music from Japanese rhythm games or the Touhou franchise of games. Further developments would occur on May 23, 2007, when Conrad Slater would purchase a domain name for YouTubepoop.com.
The site started as a directory. Basically a WordPress blog with categories that represented the author of each video. There was need for this because videos were hard to find. People didn't label their video YouTube poop because viewers were meant to find them on YouTube accidentally. I wrote to as many people as I could who'd made the videos. I asked them permission to show their videos, invited them to suggest others whose videos I should see, and so on. A few people wanted a forum. I wasn't keen on the idea, but I looked into it.
Once the site became publicly accessible as a forum, it blew up. In just 3 months, there would be so many new users joining the site that it would crash multiple times, and the hosting provider complained that they can't run the site anymore unless Conrad pays hundreds of pounds. So the forum was taken to some other server and renamed to YouTubepoop.com. Conrad would personally invite about 100 people, who would invite tons of others to gawk at the site, spreading the word around, and soon after, the website would jump to the top of Google searches. Just wrap your head around that. A website like YouTube jumping to the top of Google searches with websites like Instagram and TikTok around. Around this time, Conrad, alongside Miscellaneous 10, would host the first ever YTP tennis, whose rules remain the basis of most YTP tennis matches to this day. The idea for a tennis was directly inspired from Photoshop tennis, which had very similar rules, but instead of video, it was people editing photos one after another. I know that I mentioned the concept of a YTP collab before, but another honorable mention goes to Poopers Unite, hosted by Calculate 900, which can be seen as the first officially hosted collab, as in having more than just 2 or 3 participants making entries. The full collab is lost media, unfortunately, with only a few entry videos remaining online as a sign of its existence. But things weren't all sunshine and roses. Despite 2007 marking the year that YouTube would explode in popularity, it would be the same year YouTube would face a lawsuit against Viacom due to unlawful prominence of copyrighted material on the site.
Viacom is suing Google for things that YouTube did before Google owned YouTube. Viacom claims that when YouTube first started up, a lot of the stuff on it was things like Family Guy episodes and like things off of TV that were funny and popular, and that's how YouTube got a lot of its original traffic, and that's how people found out about it. Viacom's employees uploaded these videos to YouTube and got YouTube its traffic. So maybe they just kept hush-hush about it, or maybe they just brought it up now and said to Viacom's people in charge, "Hey, I have a great idea. I put these videos up when YouTube was just starting, when a different company owned YouTube, and it got them a lot of traffic. So if we play our cards right, we could get a lot of money from them. Us, Viacom, a company who makes tons of money already, could get even more money."
This would lead to Google introducing the first variant of the Content ID system, which at launch was very unsophisticated, taking down videos left and right. That's when YouTube copyright was arguably at its worst. Several channels were taken down multiple times due to these new changes, making the importance of a separate dedicated forum all the more pivotal. Another problem would lie with the forum itself, as during its inception, there weren't really any rules besides "don't be a dick." So you had 5 or 6 people moderating a giant forum which didn't have any concise rules, so in practice it was rather anarchic and would breed a culture that YouTube would become notorious for later on. There was a sort of truc culte attitude towards YTP's forming, as many amateur editors got hooked on CDI as a source and produced videos which were seen as not the best even by the standards of the day.
As a quick explanation, I wanted a bit of quality control in the directory, so that it could continue to be useful. I was getting about 10 new people per day signing up and expecting to be listed automatically. I'd gone through the phase of being polite and setting a limit to 10 videos maximum, but you have to understand that a lot of really dumb people were joining. Arguably brain dead. Very selfish and rude people who cared about as much furthering the art of YouTube poop as they did about social political machinations of pre-Renaissance France.
Many people didn't take that very well. Others took it as gospel. Some talented creators decided to use their editing ability to create high-effort CDI poops just to prove a point or because they just thought it would be funny. The tensions were mounting and they would increase further in 2008 when Walrus Guy would attend a YouTube tournament where he would win in a curb stomp, as he had a large mass of fans voting for him. That left many people upset, for a lot of Walrus Guy's content did involve typical Nintendo sources, which were seen as overused at the time, and in their eyes, he didn't deserve to win because of that. Running the website would act as a continuous strain on Conrad's psyche. Some say Conrad had gone insane at the time, as he would declare a war on AIDS to combat mediocre poops being made. Many users proceeded to stalk and harass content creators for making subpar videos, or for merely making them as they perceived in a wrong way. From what I researched, not much was done to put a stop to such behavior.
I think I was just totally spent. Most of my latter ideas weren't as strong as my earlier ones, and were received either coldly or with increased hostility by the now far more cynical community. I remember an email from someone saying they had found my address via Whois and were coming round my house to kill me because I'd banned their friend from a forum. I remember someone clearly very upset replying to some bullshit email that was signed as Conrad Slater despite me not writing it. The anonymous world of 4chan suddenly became more appealing to me at this point. I remember servers constantly crashing too. Hackers, or whatever, meant I'd spend all my time sorting shit out instead of making videos and enjoying my community.
Conrad's tenure wouldn't last much longer afterwards. Due to a combination of other factors, from Shadow Warrior's vocal complaints leading to Conrad temporarily shutting down the forum, to one user known as Pimps Ahoy being made a moderator as a joke, would lead to many people becoming discontent with how the site was run. But what really pushed users over the edge was the disabling of HTML. People could no longer share links or images amongst each other while making posts. So a new forum site would be made, known as Planet Freedom, created by Darius No Spork 303 and his best friend Rabbit Snore, as a means of creating a platform for the community to distance itself from the drama. Conrad didn't take all of this very well. He announced his intention to allow the YouTube Poop Community Portal server lease to expire and not to renew it, essentially threatening to leave the forum to die. He also demoted and banned moderators and users for expressing support for that new forum, one of the mods being Miscellaneous 10, the same person Conrad would create the first YTP tennis match with. But Planet Freedom wouldn't be the only new website made in the wake of this chaos. 1 month prior, there would be another forum website known as the Pachinko Machine, based on a Power Rangers inside joke within the community. The site wouldn't last very long, mostly because it was hosted by Cluggerdon, who was no more than 11 or 12 years old at the time. But what makes that website notable is that Cluggerdon would enlist the help of Dopley, who although wasn't much older, had knowledge in the technical aspects of installing, configuring, and running features on the site. People running Planet Freedom would take note of his technical prowess. Eventually, Conrad would become too exhausted and fatigued to continue being an owner for YouTube, so he sent out a proposal to the admins of Planet Freedom. They had two options. One was that YouTube would be shut down and Planet Freedom would become the next main site for YTPers. Or Planet Freedom would be deleted and Conrad would allow the admins of the site to take over YouTube and he would step down. It is interesting to think what would have happened if Planet Freedom were to become the next main YTP forum website, but YouTube got new leadership. Moderators who were once demoted would get their roles back, peace would be restored, and the war on AIDS officially ended. While YouTube under Conrad, by his own admission, resembled a benign dictatorship as its central vision for the website, the new staff would have a substantially more democratic system in place, with having way more moderators compared to the Conrad era. Now the quality of the said hierarchies is rather dubious, as some of them were as young as 14. Children being moderators on the forum where at any point raiders and trolls could start spamming gore and other explicit imagery, or adults could proceed to depression dump about very serious problems? Yeah, that was a rather questionable decision, even if it was for the sake of alleviating pressure from the admins, so they wouldn't go insane like Conrad. Conrad himself would become increasingly less active and would primarily become a lurker by 2010. Big reason for his inactivity had to do with the fact that after being burned out from running the site, he wasn't enjoying YouTube Poops anymore. He also got married and had a kid, so he had adult responsibilities to worry about as well. Well, there is still one notable event I'm not discussing that came about with this drama. The sentiment against the dinner poops would affect one small YouTuber at the time, known as Stuart K. Riley.
Well, you see, I had left YCP after they had made fun of a bunch of my shitty spa dinner Windows Movie Maker poops that I was jerking out faster than Bill Clinton's semen at the backstage of a press conference. And I shunned them. And now I don't blame them. I was your run-of-the-mill Sonic at the time. Then I found this website called pooptube.ning.com. It's gone now. The guy that made it went apeshit, and I'm pretty certain he committed suicide or something. I haven't seen him anywhere on the internet after he lost his mind. His Skype still, after 2 years, has the message, "Hello, Stuart K. Riley, are you going to give up yet?" on it. Anywho, I met with the people on that website. I made friends with all these people quickly with my southern drawl and lightning-fast wit. And they got me out of the spa dinner rut, helped me get Vegas, and made me a man. After a while, I got to thinking, you know, there's message boards, channels, playlists, and a wiki for YouTube poop. But what's missing? How can YouTubers find out new things about YouTube poop? Answer, nothing. There was absolutely no way for anyone to know what was going on in poop unless they asked somebody else. Dude, who's this pooper, source, etc. everyone's on about? Tell me, I don't know fuck! And at the time, the don't be a dick rule on YCP wasn't being enforced very well. So a lot of people didn't want to go to YCP for fear of being attacked by these people. So I figured, you know, there ain't no show for YouTube poop, no podcast commentaries, nothing. I reckon I'll make one.
Quite a number of YTP news videos still remain educational and informative to this day, and I even used some of the episodes to help me write the script for this video. One of the videos even covered YouTube poops made in non-English speaking countries. YouTube poops had a very massive boom back in 2007, so their reach would go way beyond the English-speaking internet as well. There were YouTube poopers from Spain, France, Netherlands, Germany, Russia, Finland, and various other countries that would make poops in their own language. In the Russian YTP community, we call their videos RYTP, which more or less encompasses all post-Soviet countries that have a Russian-speaking demographic. There was a so-called Golden Era, which began on 12th of August 2010, when a small group of fans of Western YTP would form an online group within a Russian social media website, Constipated. On the day the group was founded, the genre began to acquire new, previously unheard of popularity in Russia, as the group would eventually acquire over 50,000 members. The golden age wouldn't last long, as one of the prominent RYTPers would get their channel removed due to malicious mass flagging, leading to Shoot Live 2008, at least according to the Russian wiki, to cause mass hysteria and delete the group chat on August 22, 2012, merely 2 years later. Unlike YouTube, the group chat couldn't adapt to lots of amateur creators coming in from the VKontakte website. Some people said that the soul of the Russian poos was gone, but there are still many RYTPs made to this day. Although I would say that the Russian internet has been substantially more influenced by gachi-mochi of all things, rather than YTPs, as the majority of gachi ultimate style videos aren't even made in Japan anymore. Don't ask me why, I'm not an expert on Russian culture.
Как же я хочу служить пандемонике! Я хочу, чтобы она сломала мои пальцы, как тонкие макароны! Я хочу есть каждый завтрак, обед и ужин и списки за ее разрешение! Я хочу, чтобы она обняла меня своими ногами и заставила выплеснуть мою матку каждую ёбаную ночь! Я хочу, чтобы пандемоника выебала меня так сильно! Пожалуйста, Боже, я хочу, чтобы она заставила меня спускать мою узкую демоническую еще.
HYTPs, short for Hispanic YTPs, due to their prominence in Spanish Latin American countries, don't have as much of an intense history, not up until recently. It's mostly just periods of various trends, like people hosting tons of tennis matches back in the 2000s or collabs in the early 2010s. But it also has its fair share of drama, specifically from 2014 up until 2017, when there would be new poopers using well-known sources like Clarence, Gumball, and Steven Universe. They would gain tons of views and subscribers in the process, but their quality was considered mediocre by older users, with Mr. Algorian coining the term poopers posers. The said Mr. Algorian would go on a trolling rampage, who would cause an entire HYTP wiki to be destroyed. After that, things died down and there seems to be a return to the status quo of sorts.
Cuando iba saliendo de mi casa ya me estaban esperando estos pacos culiaos hijos de la Maldonao, y como andaba re feliz me puse a bailar cueca a lo choro tiki 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 taca taca ta teque teque 9 ratatatata, y me fui corriendo a comer asao y a chupar culo como condenado, y me topo a mi vecina culia y le puse un turazo por accionar.
German YTPs, known as YouTube Kake or just plain YTK, are odd. Mostly because although first YTK content can be traced back to the late 2000s, as any other foreign YTP movement, it remains a very small community, except for their golden age period that's relegated to between 2016 and 2018. That's exceptionally odd, since the English-speaking community would be suffering or recovering from heavy downturns at the same time period. But YouTube would eventually establish new copyright policies, leading to the deletion of some popular YTK channels. Some veterans left off their own volition, and nowadays is back to being a tiny community. Besides the Peppa Pig YTK being popular here and there, which is seen with the content by older users as well. Fun trivia, the YTK community has a fondness for Christmas time, as that's when you'll see Christmas-themed collabs and even YTK advent calendars.
Der Kippmoment. Boah. Eine ganze Halle fiebert mit. Oh, der Pokal, er bleibt stabil, Noch wackelt er. Benjamin Danker. Ist das soft? Ist das gut? Ist das cool? Ist das präzise?
There are even more foreign communities like SDP, a Finnish YTP scene, and YTPBR, a community of poopers that make content in Portuguese, but I'd be stuck here all day if I were to describe every single YTP-esque editing subculture across the planet, and I'm almost certain that I'm describing their history already in a highly abridged manner. And from what I'm aware of, the SDP wiki has been taken down during some kind of trolling rampage, so there's a fair bit of information lost. Take the discussion of these communities as an introduction to give you perspective at how massive the influence of YTPs has become. So we'll be returning to YouTube.
Is that good? Yeah. I'm so sorry, British boy. I'm so sorry. I don't know you. I'm sorry. I said I hate the Brits. I don't really. I like blood pudding. That's spotted dick. I loved spotted. I put in my mouth all the time the dick, with the spots, the spotty cock. I love it. Thanks for your time. Oh God. I almost spilled my water. That's like not part of the bit.
Jesus Christ.
Post!